The third animation type here is going to be a frame by frame. So I'm going to create another layer and call it frame by frame. And I'm going to move my playhead all the way back to the beginning. Okay. So I know that I need some space in order to make this, and I can see that I do have some that's kind of like right over here. So that's where I'm going to do it. Okay. So I'm going to start by using my oval tool, and I'm going to turn on my object drawing mode. I am going to turn off my fill, and I'm going to make my stroke black because all I'm doing is creating a stick figure. That's all this is going to be. So I'm going to make a little head right there. I'm going to get the line tool, and I'm going to draw down from the center, or almost the center, the torso. I'm going to draw legs, and once I get one leg drawn, I'm going to copy with a Control C, paste it. I'm going to modify, transform, flip, horizontal, and make the other one go there. I can move him over just a little bit. There we go. Then I'm going to draw again with the line tool. I'm going to draw, and I'm going to zoom in on this, by the way. It's going to make this easier. I'm going to draw an arm, and I'm going to say that the arm has 3 pieces to it. It's got the upper arm, it's got the lower arm, and it's got the hand. And again, I'm going to copy, paste, modify, transform, flip horizontal, and then move this over here. Now, this particular exercise is important that you have done it in object drawing mode. And if you haven't, please go ahead and hit pause and redo it. Okay, so with a frame by frame animation, it's exactly what it sounds like. We're moving something just a little piece at a time, very much like you did with a stop motion video taking photos. So we have our stick figure drawn in frame 1, but if we go to frame 2 and we insert a keyframe, okay, and then I'm going to take the hand and this arm, and again, I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. It'll make it easier to see with the blue lines on it. I'm going to use the free transform tool here, and notice that there is the little point in the middle, the pivot point. We need to move that pivot point up to where the joint would be. That way it moves on that joint. So I moved it just a little bit. And then I'm going to do another insert keyframe. Oops, that's not the one I meant. What? Okay. So right click, insert keyframe. I have to select those 2 again, move the pivot point, rotate. So you see, I'm just doing this a little piece at a time. And I'm going to do this until my arm is completing a wave. Okay, so your stick figure should wave. And it's better, it is more work, but it's going to look better the more keyframes that you have, because if you try to do this in just a couple of keyframes, it's going to be very glitchy. But you can see how easily it's moving like that already, right? So insert keyframe, pivot, and you're just moving a little bit each time. Now, since my arm is now here, I now want to move all three pieces. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to choose insert keyframe. I'm going to make sure that I have all three selected. Now I've got to move the pivot point up here so I can move it a little bit more. And you notice that each time I insert a keyframe, you see how it's selecting everything on that layer. I probably would have been a better decision to make the arm here on a layer by itself. I mean, it still works this way, but it probably would make things a little easier, like one less step if I would have done it on its own layer. I'm going to do one more here. Insert keyframe. Okay, and then be careful because like on that one, I accidentally selected the head and I'm not trying to pivot the head. All right, so now that the arm is up, all of it, the upper arm, lower arm, and hand. Now I want to go back to just these two again because now I'm going to do a little wave back and forth. Okay, and then on the next one, I will start to go back. Okay. All right, now we have, and I don't remember what frame I started this, so okay, so it was frame 14 is where this wave started, right? So I can copy those frames and then I can right click and paste those frames twice so that it gives kind of like three waves. Okay, so that started there. See how it's okay. Now I can start lowering that arm again. Now, I also want you to see that the amount of time on this layer changed based on the fact that I copied and pasted frames. That's okay. We'll fix it here in a little bit. Okay. But now I'm going to lower the arm back to where it started. And you don't have to watch me do each one of these because I'm just repeating myself. If you got the hang of this, you can kind of hit pause. I'm now going to go to the entire arm. And oops, I forgot to move the pivot. And notice that the other arm on the other side will help us kind of guide to getting it down into the right place again. give us a good spot to get it at. And I think that's good for all three. Now we're going to go back to just these two. And I'm going to rush on these last two so I can make sure that I get the last part of exporting, oops, on this video. Okay, one more. I think I have time for one more. Insert keyframe. All right, that looks pretty good. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and zoom back out, fit in window. I'm going to highlight from 71 through the end and remove those frames. That way they all last the same amount of time. Now, this frame by frame is only lasting, on mine anyway, up to 43 frames. So there are 27 that are not being used, but it's still there. So it's just going to be sitting still or standing still on that last one. Okay. So I'm going to Control S to save the flash file. And again, the flash file is not what I want turned into me. When we go to Control Test Movie in browser, it's going to show everything in a browser. But when you look at that in your folder, hang on, let me find that folder, PAVTC, Animate. Notice I had timeline and tweens. Here's my flash file, the .fla, but look at this. When I exported it or did that test movie, which exports it, it made an HTML page, that's a web page, JavaScript file, and images for it. Okay, well, we can't turn that in on an ePortfolio or into Canvas. So what we have to do instead is we're going to go to File and we're going to choose Publish. And it can publish several different ways, image, movie, whatever. For this particular one, I think that the animated GIF file is probably going to be a good choice for us. So it's going to give us this pop-up. It's going to give us a little preview here. Don't worry about the checkerboard background. That just means that it's transparent. It's not a big deal. Okay. We will choose that, and then we're going to hit save. It's going to ask us where. We're putting it in that same Animate folder. Hit save. And if we go back to that folder now, there is that GIF file, and there it is. We have the motion tween, the shape tween, and our frame by frame animation. It's a GIF file that you'll be able to upload to your ePortfolio as well as to the assignment in Canvas. Pay attention, the dot, whatever it is after it, that's your extension. Make sure you've got the right one.